Yo, 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 what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking, all right? So shout out to everybody who is in the room already. It's good to see y'all. If you guys can hear me okay, please give me a radiation emoji or a thumbs up in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, give me a thumbs down or an angry face, and I'm going to shout out everybody who's in the building early. We got Carla Lockard in the house. We got Two Factor. We got Carlton Way. We got Torian Rain. We got Jet Black, Wallow J, J Cage, DeAndre, Honda 666, DSB, Al McCowan, Black Spider, Wallow J, and New York State of Mind 22. What's good with y'all? So what we're going to talk about is Nimrata Randhowa. And if you guys know who that is, it's your girl Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, the interesting thing about both of these diversity hires for WS is that they have something, actually they have a couple things in common. One of the first things that they have in common is that they are WS diversity hires. Would you guys agree? If y'all agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. These are woke WS diversity hires. They are diversity hires for the side of the Manhattan Institutes, for the Christopher Rufos, for all of these clowns. They are Clarence Thomas, you know what I'm saying? Thomas Sowell, Larry Elder-esque AA peons, right? So we're going to get into this because I find it fascinating that these people of color who are absolutely products of Democrat policies seem to have some sort of issue with understanding American history. Now, I want you guys to understand how Joe Biden is in line with these folks, because Joe Biden literally said that America is a country of immigrants, right? And if you look at the open door policies on the border, and if you look at the diversity hires of WS in the government, it's absolutely a country of immigrants, right? And we're trapped in it. Now, here's the thing, right? One thing that's interesting about being in a country of immigrants is that country of immigrants usually don't have people that are invested in the actual history that formed the country, which is one thing that you can see when it comes to the revisionist history that Randhowa and Ramaswamy both discuss when they get in front of mainstream platforms. But what I find fascinating is that a lot of focus was put on Nikki Haley and not so much focus was put on Vivek Ramaswamy. The reason why so much focus was put on Nikki Haley was because Nikki Haley wasn't destroying a black person's career in the process of her revisionist history, whereas Vivek Ramaswamy, utilizing revisionist history, triggered Don Lemon and got him fired. Now, because that's ritualistic and the buck breaking publicly of a black man, that's why Vivek Ramaswamy got so much props for that, because the United States is a country that has racism as its first pastime, you know what I'm saying, and baseball as the second, you know what I'm saying? So let's get into this. We're going to reflect on Vivek Ramaswamy and his revisionist history, his proud moment where Don Lemon was fired.
Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate.
Well, actually, we're gonna do that video next. This first video that we're gonna talk about is him defending his white supremacy and KKK comments. Now, here goes my question: how many of y'all remember Vivek Ramaswamy and the comments that he made about white supremacy and the KKK? If you guys recall, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't recall, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to JW. What's good with it, bro?
Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I want to start with what I began the program with, which is this racist shooter killing 3 black people in Jacksonville yesterday. What is your reaction to the shooting?
It is such a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those families. This should not be happening in the United States of America, and it is wrong. The reality is we have a mental health epidemic in this.
Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to understand that Vivek Ramaswamy made white people the victim of the shooting in Jacksonville. Vivek Ramaswamy made white people the victim of the shooting in Jacksonville. He said basically what he said was because of the anti-black racism, or I'm sorry, the anti-white racism in the United States, it drove this shooter in Jacksonville to be mentally ill and hysterical and go delete a bunch of black people. That's basically what he said. Now he'll walk that back, you know what I'm saying, if you come and confront him. And of course, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy is allowed to have as low impulse control as he wants to, but because that melanin isn't enough to curl his hair, nobody's gonna say anything about his impulse control. But this is a guy that can't control himself. He cuts people off. You're not able to have a debate with him, and it's not because he has a Harvard education. It's because he has the manners of a 5-year-old. Shout out to Cannon Hotep. What's good with it, bro? And shout out to David Brown and Ty Valentine. What's good with y'all? So, again, I want y'all to listen to Vivek Ramaswamy basically say that anti-white racism drove this unfortunate shooter to delete 3 black cardboard cutouts in Jacksonville. That's basically what Vivek Ramaswamy said. And it doesn't matter if that didn't come out of his mouth or not. That's what he wanted his white audience to hear. And it's supposed to be able to be picked up and resonated by them and not heard by everybody else, because that's what a dog whistle means. When you whistle for a dog, nobody else can hear it, but because dogs have certain frequencies to be able to hear on, they're able to hear that high-pitched whistle. That's what a dog whistle means. It does not matter what he said when he tries to walk this back. That's exactly what he said. Vivek Ramaswamy says because white people have to contend with the racism and all of the infrastructure that they created in this country to drag black people, that it drove this Floridian to delete 3 black people. Now, he didn't mention anything about the attacks that Ron DeSantis has been repeatedly doing on black people in Florida. And the reason why he didn't mention that is because, as you guys know, Ramaswamy is a Heritage Foundation shill. Let's get it. Now, another thing that I want to ask you, as far as the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, who are the Federalists? Who is the Heritage Society? Who are Heritage Americans? I'll tell you who are not Heritage Americans. Foundational Black Americans are not Heritage Americans.
Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I want to start with what I began the program with, which is this racist shooter killing 3 black people in Jacksonville yesterday. What is your reaction to the shooting?
It is such a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those families. This should not be happening in the United States of America, and it is wrong. The reality is we have a mental health epidemic in this country. There are reports that this particular individual, the perpetrator,
the mental health in this country. I want you guys to understand, Vivek Ramaswamy feels that mental health is the cause of the Jacksonville Dollar General massacre. If you guys agree with Ramaswamy, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, throw some tomatoes or clown faces in the chat. And also, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody who's in here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If everybody can take a moment and smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, please take a moment, hit the bell, and subscribe to the channel.
Was indeed evaluated for mental health deficiencies as well. And I think we need to have the courage in this country to bring back a practice of putting back psychiatrically ill people who pose a risk to their communities into psychiatric institutions, not just drugging them up.
Well, he didn't pose a risk to his community. He specifically went to a black community and shot up those people. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Out of all of the mentally ill people in the United States, how many of them have committed race massacres? Is it a majority or a minority? These people like to talk statistics. So let's talk statistics to the Harvard graduate, shall we? Out of every single mental health person in the United States, how many of those people have committed race massacres? Is it greater than 50% or less than 50%? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to James Sumler, who's been a longtime subscriber that has returned to the membership. Definitely appreciate it, bro. Please make sure you guys throw some radiation emoji and some flames in the chat for him. And hold on real quick. Let me just take a look at something real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds, because this might be celebration worthy. This might be celebration worthy. Hold on real quick. Okay, we got 89 members. Okay, so we got 89 members, ladies and gentlemen. That would be dope if we could end the year with that 100, because then the next couple of streams would be celebration streams. So we only need 11 more members to get 100, and we'll be doing that 100 member stream. So shout out to y'all. I definitely appreciate y'all.
But faith-based approaches and other approaches that fill our longing for purpose and meaning in this country. I think it is just a shame that we even have mass shootings like this, be it the one that happened in Florida, be it the recent one, the Nashville shooter in a Christian school, killing 6 in a school. We have to address that mental health epidemic, and we need leaders with the courage to do it.
Oh, you already know. You already know, but you know what? To be honest, I like that Moscato. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna pop some red Moscato fresh out the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? In a little aluminum tub with some ice cubes.
But my heart goes out to those families, and I hope something like this never happens again.
Mental health is one aspect of these shootings, and apparently, and we're still learning a lot about what happened. The facts are still coming out. Also, this was very much apparently racially motivated. The sheriff there said point blank that this shooter had
it was racially motivated for multiple reasons, right? One of the reasons why we know that it was racially motivated was because, again, he went directly to a black community. So that's the first lie that Vivek Ramaswamy told, is that he's affecting, quote unquote, his community. He didn't affect his community. Nobody from his community is dead. The only thing that his community is suffering is the embarrassment and his parents being embarrassed for raising a piece of crap like that. But this didn't affect his community. Let's get the consensus on this. Did the Jacksonville massacre affect the individual that committed the massacre's community? If it did, give me a thumbs up. If it did not, then give me a thumbs down.
Manifestos coming, 3 manifestos, and said specifically that he went to this dollar store with the intent of killing black people.
I think that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is.
Now, he thinks that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is. He thinks that is so heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is, so much that initially, when discussing this, he said that it was because of a mental health epidemic.
Reality is we've created such a racialized culture.
We've created. Let me ask you guys a question. Who's responsible for creating a racialized culture in the United States? We've created. How many laws did we write that created racial separation here in the United States? That's my question for you guys. How many laws are black people responsible for that created racialized laws in the United States? How many companies are black people owning that are responsible for nationwide racial division? Shout out to Cannon Hotep. You talking about that the Jacksonville massacre? Does anybody remember exactly when that happened in the comment section? I can't remember exactly when it happened.
In this country in the last several years, that right as the last few burning embers of racism were burning out, we have a culture in this country.
No embers of racism have burned out. Cross is still burning, homeboy. Noose is still swinging, homeboy. Racist embers are burning at higher temperatures than ever in the United States. And there's only one sole group of people who is responsible for lighting those fires. And who are they?
Largely created by media and establishment and universities and politicians that throw kerosene on that racism. And I can think of no better.
Now, let me ask you guys this question. Are signatures on laws kerosene on racism? Signatures on laws that encourage racism. Is that kerosene on racism? Now, mind you, these are universities that, according to people like Vivek Ramaswamy, black people aren't even smart enough to get in. Shout out to Robb from Denver. Robb from Denver said Jacksonville is also where one of Vivek Ramaswamy's tried to create a fake black news channel. One of Vivek Ramaswamy's cousins also posed as a fake black person. Shout out to Turian. What's old boy's name? That was the fake black doctor.
Better way to fuel racism in this country than to take something away from other people on the basis of their skin color. I've been saying that for years.
So, well, are you going to address those heritage Americans that literally took from us on the basis of our skin color? Are you going to do that? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 90. We're at 90. Shout out to Ty. Throw some 90s in the chat. Ty makes number 90. Throw some radiation emojis and some flames in the chat for Ty. All we need is 10 more. We got close to 70 people in here. We can get those 10 by the end of the stream.
And I think that is driving, sadly, a new wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to.
Why is he mentioning anti-Hispanic racism? How many? Let me ask you guys. Now, again, this is Ramaswamy being racist right here, attempting to dilute the effect of the Jacksonville massacre. How many Hispanic people were deleted in the Jacksonville massacre? Anybody got any numbers? And shout out to DeAndre for being a like enforcer. Appreciate it, bro.
New wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to stop.
Now, I want you guys to make no mistake. Take a look at Vivek Ramaswamy's face. Take a look at Nikki Haley's face. Not the lady next to him, right? Not the lady next to him. Take a look at the people of color. Take a look at the people of color. Take a good look at the people of color. That's the new wave of anti-black racism. Shout out to Crew Royalty. What's good with it, bro? That's the new look of anti-black racism. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Vivek Ramaswamy's, the Nikki Haley's, the American Cholos, the Nuri Martinez. That's the new look of anti-black racism. The post-supremacy era, where your white supremacists are melanated. Diversity inclusion hires for Legacy America to uphold the laws of the land. That's your new wave of anti-black racism right there.
Hate and discrimination on the basis of race. Let's stop discriminating on the basis of race and see what unites us as Americans, because I do not think this kind of racial division and any division is good for us as the United States.
Now, mind you, I want you guys to understand, Ramaswamy is attempting to scold the news anchor for bringing up the facts. He didn't notice how he didn't scold the killer for going to a black community. He didn't scold the killer for deleting 3 black people. He's scolding the news anchor for racial division. Make it make sense.
I believe that there are a lot of people of color in this country who don't think it was just lasting embers of racism, but that a lot more work had to be done, particularly given the history of the systemic racism in this country with slavery and beyond. I want to ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him.
Have you ever looked in the mirror? Maybe not, judging by how you're dressed and how your shave up looks. So now what I want people to understand is that this babbling that Vivek Ramaswamy is doing, this is commonplace with people of color. This is commonplace with LGBTQ. This is commonplace with those four-legged midgets that Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about. You guys remember the four-legged midgets that Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about? How everybody's gonna be getting more stuff than black people, including the four-legged midget with two heads. Remember Dr. Claude Anderson said something along those lines? He wanted them. He looked like he shaved the side of his head with a snowplow, don't he, DeAndre? He should have got a shick.
Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy does.
Vivek Ramaswamy has actually encountered white supremacy. He's just a coward. He's just a coward. And they push up on him all the time. And every single time he bends the knee. He's just a coward.
Doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy?
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation.
Who politicized anything? So now I find it interesting when the dominant society, right? Because as we all know, the dominant society has more than just white people, right? When the dominant society says these things are being politicized, she literally asked a direct question about the facts of the case. Yeah, that's big facts. Shout out to Ron Tober. Ron Tober said he can't see racism with his nose so far up their ass. Facts. The only thing that he can see is 2 cheeks. You know what I'm saying? 2 cheeks or 2 hip bones, depending on whose nose his ass is up.
We should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly. Most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign. Kara Swisher calling me Ramaswamy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my...
Now, people effectively reducing him to the color of his skin. People mispronouncing his last name. Let me ask you guys this question. What has Vivek Ramaswamy said about Nimrata Randhowa whitewashing herself? What has Vivek Ramaswamy said about Nimrata Randhowa literally washing her culture off of herself? That's my question. Shout out to my man Bronze God. What's good with it, bro? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment to hit the bell and share the stream to your social media.
Skin and my attributes, that comes today from the modern left. But the reality is...
Shout out to FBA Bro Reese. What's good with it, bro?
Does still exist in the United States?
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting.
Where's the psychologist's diagnosis that shows that he's mentally deranged? So again, is committing a race massacre a cardinal sign of mental illness? Has everyone who's been diagnosed with a mental illness committed a racial massacre? When people do these kind of things, when they attempt to take the focus away from the root cause of why it was done, that's suspect. That individual wrote a manifesto that said why he did it, and nothing in that manifesto looked like it was any sign of what people write down when they have mental disorders that cause them to have hallucinations, whether auditory or visual. And again, also, we've yet to see any health records. And I got to agree with Robb from Denver. Shout out to Robb from Denver. Robb from Denver says mental illness is a cardinal sign of deflection. Facts. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Yes, but I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes. And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this.
Now, I wonder what kind of mental disorders would those be? Would you call that your five senses or what? Because there's a whole bunch of people in the world that literally see people of all different colors and never harm them. Some people even see people of other groups of people with other different kind of colors and don't even have a thought or a desire of harming them. But then there's the ones that do. And the ones that do all tend to seem to be from one particular group. So now my question for Vivek Ramaswamy is, knowing that Vivek Ramaswamy is intelligent, he's manufactured medicine. Statistically speaking, when we talk about the people who attempt to harm other people as a result of their differences, what group do those people all statistically correlate to?
And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this, to revive our doctrine of e pluribus unum, not just celebrating our diversity and our skin deep attributes, but celebrating what unites us across that diversity. That's what we've forgotten in the United States of America.
When people say that, they never answer the question. Here's my question. What unites us? Facts, Michael R. And that medicine was a failure. Just like Vivek Ramaswamy's presidential campaign. Yeah, I got to agree with two factor. WS is what unites the citizenry. If you guys agree with two factor, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Our true strength is the set of ideals that unite us. That's my job to revive as our next president. And I think that the next generation in particular is so starved for that, starved for commonality, starved for a nation that is unified, bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what we need to recreate in this country. And to those who say the remedy to past discrimination is
recreate. I want you guys to ask your parents, if you're close in age, plus 10 or minus 10 years from me, ask your parents about recreation. Ask your parents how they would feel if the America they grew up in was recreated. Ask your grandparents, your great-grandparents, if you foundational Black American, if you want the America that they grew up in recreated. What you think their answer would be if you asked them that question? Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is an immigrant. He's a person of color. He's a boat bro, border bro. You know what I'm saying? He don't have any historical reference of what went on here in the United States. And he has an education in zeros and ones, not in history. Shout out to Fantizi. What's going on with it, bro?
Present discrimination? I say no. The right remedy is actually abandoning all discrimination and moving forward with colorblind meritocracy in the United States of America.
You took it.
We don't have to move with no type of colorblind meritocracy. We do not have to delete our identity to make other people feel comfortable. I've literally never in my life asked a white person or an Asian person or an Arabic person or anybody that I've ever come in contact with to not be themselves to make me more comfortable, even in situations where it's just been only me. I've been in situations where I'm the only black person. I've been in situations where I'm the only FBA, and it's a whole bunch of Caribbean people and Africans. In any situation, I've never asked anybody to not be themselves or to lose your identity to make me more comfortable. That's what colorblind, quote unquote, means. That's what colorblind means. Let's get it. BEO says Vivek was born in the U.S. like Trump. His parents are immigrants. What do his parents know about American history to teach him? We're looking at it. We're looking at what his parents taught him, which is a ignorant, diluted, deranged, dumb version of American history. My parents was born here. My parents dealt with Jim Crow. In the North and in the South. Vivek Ramaswamy's parents were not. Vivek Ramaswamy's parents were busy benefiting from a caste system, which is the reason why his father never became a United States citizen. You feel me? I got a community post on this very website or on this very YouTube channel, and it'll show you the exact reasons of why Vivek Ramaswamy's father stayed in India. You know what I mean?
To another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure.
So now my question is, how is that a word of the modern KKK? That's what he said to that. What's that lady's name? Presley? That squad member, that Justice Democrat shill. What's her name? Now, those comments that she made, those weren't anything reminiscent of the KKK at all. At all. And you know what? And shout out to Two Factor, because it's interesting. I'm glad you actually said that, because you brought up a point. Another issue, another danger of people of color. Ayanna Pressley, thank you, Al. Appreciate you. Another danger of people of color is because when we talk about global WS has dominated the entire world, and the entire world has sold into it. They've bought into it. They've all cast themselves aside to become part of the greater WS network. These people like Vivek Ramaswamy instituting race-based caste systems, Latinos instituting Hacienda de Negros and race-based caste systems. That means that most of these people incoming into the United States literally come in with the same programming as these people have already. which is one of the reasons why they use Democrat policies to get into the United States and then flip Republican, because these people are ultimately they're right wing WS in a brown carcass. They're a meat sack holding WS programming. All of these people, Vivek Ramaswamy is the remnant of a former great Asian culture. He's a remnant. Just like many Latinos are remnants. They're remnants of Aztecs, remnants of Mayans. Shout out to Mike TV. What's good with it, bro? They're remnants, which means that they've all been defeated and they've all bought into this nonsense of WS. And that right there is another danger of people like Nimrata Randhowa, a.k.a. Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, American Cholo, and any of these post-supremacy era WS brown people. If the quote-unquote Democrats were actually quote-unquote the party of the blacks, like people like to say, then the Democrats would warn people about these colonized minds of these migrants that are coming to the United States that come from cities like Matamoros and Americana. If you guys watch on the Undocumented Bros, there's a video that talks about the Confederates as well as the post-SS of World War II that made safe havens all throughout South and Central America. These are the people coming to the United States. There's a city in Brazil called Americana where they literally have a Confederate festival every year. Brazil welcomed them with the promise of being able to own black slaves. This is actual history. If you talk about it, though, to somebody like Vivek, he's going to talk over you and say that you're politicizing things. I didn't make any of those policies. I didn't ask for any of those policies. My parents didn't ask to deal with Jim Crow. My grandparents didn't ask to deal with Jim Crow. They didn't make any of those policies. They didn't even ask to be here. Vivek Ramaswamy and his family chose to be here. You know what I mean? This shit is crazy. This right here, these are the dangers. And this is what I'm talking about. Nimrata Randhowa, Nikki Haley, she does the exact same thing. She attempts to downplay the history, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But these are the actual dangers of P.O.C.s. Now, don't forget, right? There's another one. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She did it too. Oh, you ain't never lied. Yo, and shout out to you, Mike, for getting your channel back. I think I told you that on Reacts, but again, shout out to you, bro. I'm very happy that they got your channel back, bro. You know what I'm saying? I wish you much growth in 2024. But yeah, you ain't never lied. Patrick Bet Davis is another one. That's a great example. That's a great example. Patrick Bet Davis. He's another one.
KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of Black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints.
You didn't just say they would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern Grand Wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Pressley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my views, that is wrong. It is divisive. It is driving hate in this country. This is dividing our country to a breaking point.
That is a debate that is based on nonviolent discussion. That you just said you're using rhetoric, which she said she's using rhetoric. There is that's one thing. And another thing is to say that she represents and she is a modern version of a KKK, which, as you know, was dedicated to the subjugation and violence against Black people. How on earth is she a modern Grand Wizard?
Let's be intellectually honest.
Kind of
Do you guys remember when AOC said that she's quote unquote everything? She said that she's everything. She said that she has relatives who were conquistadors. She's Black. And then she asked the question, well, what is Black? If you pay attention to all of these P.O.C.s, a lot of these diluted P.O.C.s, like AOC, like Vivek Ramaswamy, they're remnants of their past culture. And as long as we are not culturally diluted, then we're causing them issues. If literally everybody was like an AOC or everybody was like a Vivek Ramaswamy, it would make business operations move so much more smoothly. But we create a bottleneck because we are the living remnants of a dark era in this country that this country is very uncomfortable with dealing with. They can't handle it. We have to handle living in it every damn day, but they can't even handle discussions about it. And that's one of the reasons why they're trying to do this. They're no different. Vivek Ramaswamy, no different than an AOC, no different than a Rashida Tlaib, no different than a Nikki Haley. They're all the same. This is what I was talking about a couple years ago when me and TD was talking about the post-supremacy era. Now you guys are seeing it. This is it.
Organization.
Let's be intellectually honest and get to the heart of what this debate ought to be about. There is a worldview that says that the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, that if you're Black or brown, you have to have a particular point of view. That's from Ibram Kendi. That's from Ayanna Pressley, the people I quoted in my speech yesterday.
But can you?
Literally nobody thinks that. Literally, Black people are telling people every damn day that Black people are not a monolith. So again, this is Vivek Ramaswamy attempting to get in front of Black people and speak for the masses. Now, I want you guys to pay attention, right? He named two people, Ayanna Pressley and Ibram X. Kendi. But now, what's interesting about this is that he's making it like somehow Ayanna Pressley and Ibram X. Kendi have this cult following. And if they say something, then that's literally what every single Black person does. How many people in the comment section here follow Ibram X. Kendi or Ayanna Pressley? I know I don't. So what the hell is Vivek Ramaswamy talking about? But what's crazy about this is that literally everybody knows that two particular people don't represent an entire group. But yet we have to contend with that, and everybody else gets to be individuals.
Have an intellectually honest conversation when you accuse her of being a Grand Wizard of the KKK. Can you have that intellectually honest discussion with that kind of rhetoric?
Yes, I can, Dana, because the point I'm highlighting is that even the people who, in good spirit, we all agree that the KKK was an awful organization that is a toxic stain in our national history. So given that we can start from that point of agreement, now that allows us to say, well, who actually sounds more like that organization today?
Again, so even if we use that argument that Vivek Ramaswamy used, how does what name the quote that a KKK member said that sounds anything like what Ayanna Pressley said? That's my question. Who of the KKK, what member, what Grand Dragon of what lodge did anybody say anything that sounds remotely like what Ayanna Pressley said?
The people who are calling for more racial discrimination on the basis of skin color. So yes, I think that is an
but it's not
intellectually
about
useful starting point
sounding
for a provocative discussion
the whole,
that we need to have in this
country.
country.
The whole point is the KKK
reality,
wasn't just
Dana,
about rhetoric.
We have to speak
They
openly.
lynched people, they murdered people, they raped people, they burned their homes.
And that was wrong.
Simply
that was obviously
because
wrong.
So
wrong.
Okay, so again,
that is obviously a wrong
if you want to
thing
have an intellectual discussion, do you think that maybe comparing her to the Grand Wizard and the notion of what she said to being a modern leader of the KKK was maybe a step too far, or you stand by what you said?
I stand by what I said to provoke an open and honest discussion in this country, because there is.
Vivek Ramaswamy doesn't want to have an open and honest discussion. Kid Gravity's been calling Vivek Ramaswamy out forever, and Vivek Ramaswamy is nowhere to be found. But now Vivek Ramaswamy will go on friendly platforms, and he'll go on platforms where it seems like they have moderate disagreements, but they don't actually disagree. But Vivek Ramaswamy is not trying to come down these parts of town. Make no mistake. He's not.
There's a gap, Dana, between what people will say in private today and what they will say in public. I think we need to close that gap. I think we need to have real, open, honest, raw conversation as Americans. That is our path.
Well, when it comes to dinner time conversations, who's having the more weird dinner time conversations? And I absolutely agree with CG. CG said WS created P.O.C.s. Facts. If you guys agree with CG, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. I agree 100%.
Path to national unity. And there are many Americans today who are deeply frustrated by the new culture of anti-racism.
One step towards the path to national unity is reparations, but that's not a path that any of these clowns seem like they want to go down. So it doesn't look like national unity is going to happen anytime soon. Another issue with national unity is that people need to acknowledge what's been done. The United States hasn't even given a formal apology for slavery. They haven't given a formal apology to the eugenics movement that they did in North Carolina. They haven't given an apology for the Tuskegee study. They haven't given an apology for anything, and they're not going to give an apology for anything. And I absolutely agree. That's why I call them the diversity hires. They are the diversity hires of WS. Plenty of examples. What's old girl that Grind and Motivate and Kid Gravity did the video about? Diane Yap. She's another one. Andrew Yang, he's another one.
Or how
that's really racism in your clothing,
discussion.
And we need to have that debate in the open. Dan, I think
I'm not so sure how
with
provoking
respect,
a discussion
what many in the media do, picking on some fringe comment in the context of a broader context that I was offering.
So you know, the fact that she paid attention to what he said, she shouldn't have picked out that little amount. She shouldn't have picked out that. She should recite everything that he said. Yeah, and I agree. Absolutely, Al McGowan. They can keep the apology. But now, again, I want everybody to understand, when anytime it comes to talking about slavery or colonization, they literally say that, shout out to Mike Mellis John, what's good with it, bro? They literally say that those things were justified. So now, if those things were justified to get them out of the situations that they were in Europe, my question is, what is that saying is justified for us to do to be able to get with our situation here in the United States? That's all I'm asking.
In a speech.
All right, so you just said that your comment was fringe.
Let's have the courage to confront the meat of that. You know, I'm saying you drew a fringe comment from a much longer speech. As I described you picking one fringe comment from a long speech that I gave to duck debate from the real issue that I think you don't want to have, Dana.
It's still a comment that you made. And pay attention to what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing. He's literally telling her that she doesn't want to talk about what she pulled from his speech. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. When it comes to people of color, do you see more people of color sounding like us, or do you see more people of color sounding like Vivek Ramaswamy? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody watching. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, please take a moment. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment. Make sure you guys hit that bell.
Because I think you probably agree with me on this, that this is toxic.
I think that this debate,
from leading politicians,
I think that this debate
on dividing us on the basis of race. And I want to have
I think this debate is fascinating and interesting and opening and important. What I did was explain to our viewers that you were asked a question and you took it to a point where you called a sitting member of Congress who is Black, who was having discussions about race, calling her the modern grand wizard of the KKK. And I'm just not sure how that's open and honest.
Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Because Vivek Ramaswamy was using a lot of debate tactics, and you could kind of tell that news anchor, you know, she was trying she was trying to hold her own as far as that conversation went, but there was a lot of times when, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy was causing her to pause, and, you know, she was kind of not feeling sure of herself. Real quick, shout out to my man Mo Fax. What's good with it, bro? So I want you guys to pay attention as you watch Vivek Ramaswamy going forward. Those are the exact same kind of debate tactics that he uses. Now, if that was a black man using those debate tactics, literally the world would be talking about how rude they were. They don't have any emotional control. They can't have any impulse control. They can't control themselves. How low their IQ must be because they can't sit back and let somebody else talk. But Vivek Ramaswamy can be as rude as he wants to. He can be as low impulse control as he wants to. He can attempt to dominate the conversation in any way that he wants to, and it's perfectly okay. He gets cheered on for it. So just make sure that you guys peep game on the double standards, and just understand that if you're a black male, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to that bell curve. We're low impulse control, low IQ. Like me right now, I got bass in my voice, but because I have bass in my voice, you know, clearly I must not have been raised by my father. I must be emotional, despite the fact that, you know, none of those are true.
News broke yesterday that longtime host at CNN, Don Lemon, was fired, according to a report in the New York Times, a heated interview he conducted with GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy.
Now, we're revisiting this Don Lemon firing, right? All leading up to where we're going. Why are we revisiting this Don Lemon firing? The reason why we're revisiting this Don Lemon firing is because a common tactic that people of color and white people like to do against black people is to purposely misstate our history and then sit back and laugh because they think that it's going to invoke an emotional response. Right? Now, why we're talking about this Don Lemon situation is because I want to ask you guys the question. Do you all remember what it was that got Don Lemon all worked up like that? If you guys recall what the discussion was about that got Don Lemon worked up like that, leave it in the comment section. If you don't remember what it was that got Don Lemon worked up, then give me a thumbs down in the comment section.
Played a role in the firing. Now we have a clip of the contentious exchange. Let's watch.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
Not true. A historical fact. I want you guys to pay attention to how people of color and white people will literally blatantly lie about factual information to your face. I want y'all to listen to this again.
In the firing. Now we have a clip of the contentious exchange. Let's watch.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
Black people secured their rights after the Civil War, only after their Second Amendment rights were secured. First and foremost, that makes absolutely no sense because you're not getting to pick and choose which rights that you're getting. You either get full constitutional rights, which is everything in the Constitution all at one time, or you don't. So there was no, we got Second Amendment rights, and then we got First Amendment rights, and then we got Third Amendment rights, and then we got 10th Amendment rights. That didn't happen. That didn't happen for anybody. But Don Lemon is such a shill and such a clown that he didn't catch that. And instead, he start puckering his bussy and start whining like a little bitch. And then end up losing his job. But notice how none of the CNN moderators, there was no fact check. If you watch where YouTube posts this video, where these video clips are posted on Twitter, on Elon Musk's apartheid X, There's no fact check. If you post any content about the 2020 election or you post any content about C-19, they'll embed a message that gives reference information. Anytime any of these people post any kind of nonsense that's anti-Black or ahistorical, there is never, ever, ever an embedded message to correct the misinformation. Ever. Now, this is a real easy question to answer. Is Vivek Ramaswamy telling the truth here or no?
Secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They were not secured their freedoms after.
Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured. So my question, if I was Don Lemon, would have been, what was the day that the Second Amendment rights were secured? And then what was the subsequent days that the rest of the Constitution was secured? But Don Lemon didn't do that.
After the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because Black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to.
And you know how they got it?
They
got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, Don, the
NRA did not.
The NRA played a big role in stopping the Black Panthers from getting guns in California, is what the NRA did. The NRA and Ronald Reagan were anti-gun in California when it came to Black people, which is ironic because they're the pro-gun face of the conservatives. Is that true? If that's true, give me a thumbs up. If that's not true, give me a thumbs down. So my question is, where were these pro-Black, pro-Second Amendment states at, where white people were just issuing out gun rights to Black people all over the place? Where did this happen at? Yeah, that's facts. That's big facts. You're sitting up here asking them stuff like this.
Why are you gay?
You know what I'm saying? I'll be asking Don Lemon that for a long time. How many people heard about that incident between him and that bartender named Justin Heiss? If y'all ain't heard about that, y'all should go look that up.
And that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to.
And you know how they got it?
War,
they got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, Don, the
NRA did not play a big role.
Absolutely, they trained Black Americans how to use firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role.
Co-host Poppy Harlow watched on as the pair continued bickering.
The fact that I civil rights revolution in this country. You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have
the freedoms that Black and white that Black people don't have in this country, and that Black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin.
I think that we should be able to tell ahistorical facts about Black people indiscriminately. We should be able to lie about Black people. We should be able to make stuff up to make ourselves feel good because we're so fragile. We should be able to do whatever we want to do. And you should just sit there and take it. Sit there and take that. Like Puffy. That's what Vivek Ramaswamy is saying. So now, why did I play that clip? I played that clip because it's an interesting pattern that AAPI politicians have in trolling Black people with purposefully misquoting Black history. And you got to ask the question, why do they do that? That's a fair question to ask. They'll never tell you. We know why. We know why they do it. So Nikki Haley is slammed for not mentioning slavery as the cause of the Civil War in a word salad answer during the town hall. Now, this wasn't a mistake. And instead of, taking some kind of accountability for it, she said that it was a Democrat plant who asked her the question. Let me ask you this question. Let's just say, for instance, I'm not a friend of yours and you're doing a conference and I send somebody there and say, you ask this person, what does 1 + 1 equal? And when my plant that I put there asks you what 1 + 1 equals, and you say 4, and everybody makes fun of you the next day because everybody knows that 1 + 1 = 2, and you say, well, Rob sent a plant here to ask me this question, and I was caught off guard. There's some things that you just shouldn't get caught off guard for. There's some things that just have very simple answers. The location where Nikki Haley was at, she thought she was comfortable being able to fly by slavery to appease the white audience. And it backfired. And the reason why it backfired is not because these people care so much to correct her about history. It's because, like Professor Black Truth says, they love a sick joke. And this is how they play the game on the Vivek Ramaswamys and on the Nikki Haleys. But they know that Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy have signed up for a lifetime of being a whipping post. So when they play the sick jokes on them, they'll just hang their heads and take it and keep it moving. Nikki Haley so much to the point where she's completely erased her own damn identity. She's erased her identity completely. She has an alias. Nikki Haley is her alias. That's not even her real name. It's crazy.
Please, what was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of
That really was an easy question. That really was. Let me ask you guys this question. Was that an easy question? If that was an easy question, give me a thumbs up. If it wasn't an easy question, give me a thumbs down. That was an easy question. Very easy question. That she wasn't capable, but she actually was capable, wasn't willing to answer. She didn't want to answer that question. She didn't want to answer that question to acknowledge the issues there.
Thank you, Ambassador. Please, what was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was? I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I wanted to see your viewpoint on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people.
Secure the rights and freedoms of the people. Now, that sounds a lot like what Vivek Ramaswamy said when it came to asking about Black people post-Civil War, doesn't it? If that sounds a lot like what Vivek Ramaswamy said, then give me a thumbs up. If it does not, then give me a thumbs down. And this is what I'm talking about. Vivek Ramaswamy and Nimrata Randhowa are from the same culture. It's not a mistake that both of them are spitting out the same foul babble when it comes to talking about Black people and what happened here in the United States. Very, very simple. And she's upset. I didn't get a simple question. You did get a simple question. You literally got the easiest question.
It's never meant to.
Now, again, she lives in a state, right? She's a South Carolina, what was she, a South Carolina senator, I think, down there? She literally was one of the people that got the Confederate flag removed. She the governor. Okay, the governor. Thank you, Torian. She's the governor of South Carolina. She got the Confederate flag removed from down there. But you don't know what caused the Civil War? She knows what caused the Civil War.
People. It was never meant to be all things to all people. Government doesn't need to tell you how to live your life. They don't need to tell you what you can and can't do. They don't need to be a part of your life. They need to make sure that you have freedom. We need to have capitalism. We need to have economic freedom. We need to make sure that we do all things so that individuals have the liberties so that they can have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do or be anything they want to be without government getting in the way.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
What do you want me to say about slavery? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if somebody asked what was the cause of World War II as an American, and an American answered Pearl Harbor? Can you imagine what would happen? Oh, can you imagine the articles from Rolling Stone? Can you imagine Ari Emanuel? Can you imagine Michael Rappaport? Imagine asking an American, what was the cause of World War II? And as an American, you answered Pearl Harbor. Imagine what the mainstream media would do to you. Even though, what event drew America into World War II? No citation on, factual information or anything like that. Right, and then exactly, if she had answered Pearl Harbor, and then that person had said, well, in 2023, asking a question about World War II and you not mentioning Event H is just beyond me. And then she answered, well, what do you want me to say about Event H? Could you imagine? Could you imagine? What do you want me to say about Event H? What do you want me to say about slavery? This should be eternalized.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
This is how many feel.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
Man, I'm waiting for the Nikki Haley and Pearl Davis podcast to come out. You know what I'm saying? Democrats and supporters of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley on Wednesday after she refused to name slavery as a primary cause of the Civil War. Governor Ron DeSantis and his followers have some nerve using that as a basis to criticize Nikki Haley. Ron DeSantis sounding real woke, isn't he? Ron DeSantis is outraged because Nikki Haley didn't mention slavery. Ron DeSantis sounding real woke. What are the punishments of the Stop Woke Act in Florida? I think that every Ron DeSantis supporter and Ron DeSantis himself should face the full consequences of the Stop Woke Act for criticizing Nikki Haley on the basis that she didn't mention slavery, because there was more to the Civil War than slavery. Stupid Florida clown. Oh, him and his white plantation stockholders are angry that Nikki Haley didn't mention slavery. Are you serious? They need to be punished to the full extent of the Stop Woke Act. I mean, if we're mentioning slavery, you know, isn't that racializing everything? Ron DeSantis and his supporters should have done to them what they've been doing to Disney. They should get a Dollar General pull up. You know what I'm saying? Of course, to go shopping for your favorite cheap products. Haley, 51, made the apparent gaffe during a town hall event in Berlin, New Hampshire, after a voter asked for the former United Nations ambassador to identify the cause of the deadliest war in American history. The White House hopeful appeared caught off guard by the question and failed to mention the antebellum South's quote-unquote peculiar institution in her response, which is not the antebellum South's peculiar institution. This was something that went on in the entire United States. They had slaves in New York. Joe Biden's family owned slaves in Pennsylvania. What are we talking about here? It wasn't just the antebellum South. As a matter of fact, it's not even a peculiar institution, because there was a report that was put out by Reuters a couple months ago that shows that 100 members of Congress are direct descendants of Adosos, American descendants of slave owners. It's not a peculiar institution in this country. Nothing peculiar about it. This is American culture. Slavery and anti-black racism is as American as apple pie, as American as baseball, as American as a hot dog and a hamburger. Anti-black racism is red, white, and blue. And if you black, F you. That's American culture. If you don't believe me, go look at the signs that they had in the black and white videos from back in 1960. So now here it says, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how the government was going to run, Haley said. The freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are, Haley went on. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of people. So again, she's not even addressing none of this stuff. It was never meant to be all things to all people, the Republican presidential contender continued. Now, this is an interesting little citation, right? It was never meant to be all things to all people. What do they mean by that? It was never meant to be all things for all people. We know it was meant to be all things for quote unquote heritage Americans, but it wasn't meant to be all things for us. And look, see, they got the article right here. We can look at this where she's sitting up here blaming this on a Democrat plant. Now, here go the thing, right? Even if it was a Democrat plant, you couldn't answer that simple question. That was a very simple question. You couldn't answer that question. So we don't need to read this part because we already saw that in the video. And now here it says the individual who posed the question to the candidate responded, it was astonishing to hear her answer without mentioning the word slavery. What do you want me to say about slavery? Next question. Haley shot back. President Biden's X account shared a video of Haley's town hall moment and tweeted, quote unquote, it was about slavery. And what else about slavery, Joe Biden? What else about slavery, Joe Biden, besides the fact that your family used to own slaves? In America, You weren't a slave if
you ain't black.
Dummy. When it comes to dealing with these people, man, I gotta shout out my man Cobra Commander.
Idiots! I'm surrounded by incompetent idiots!
What's wrong with that boy? What's wrong with Cobra Commander? Why he be spazzing like that? He said that with his heart. Democratic National Committee Chairman Jamie Harrison tweeted that Haley's answer was not stunning if you were a black resident in South Carolina when she was the governor. Now, that's interesting, right? Because as much as they like to all lives matter everything, that should be offensive to everybody that consider themselves an American. But you got many Americans that rather preserve the memorabilia from the time when slavery was allowed than Americans who would rather acknowledge the institution of America. But now that's that kind of skin color stuff that Vivek Ramaswamy don't want to talk about. Biden is only tweeting about this because he's trying to get some votes, because he knows that he's toast when it comes to the election next year. And that election creeping up, creeping on a come up like Bone Thugs and Harmony. Oh, Serpentor has some gems too. But you know what though? Nowadays, with the way that the censorship is, if you go and look how Cobra did the Serpentor salute, they're gonna get you on AS for that. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get you on AS for that. Look at them episodes when Dr. Mindbender first created Serpentor, and look how Destro, the Baroness, and the twins, how they gave him the salute. They get you for AS for that nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I think I think Dr. Mindbender sprinkled a little bit of German DNA in that little mixing pot that he used to make Serpentor, but didn't say anything about it. If you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Democratic National Committee Chairman Jamie Harrison tweeted that Haley's answer was not stunning if you were a black resident in South Carolina when she was the governor. It shouldn't be stunning for anybody. You would think, right? If we're living in this all lives matter United States, but people tell on themselves. Now, here go to hypocrisy. Same person who said the Confederate flag was about tradition and heritage, and as a minority woman, she was the right person to defend keeping it on state grounds. Some may have forgotten, but I haven't. Time to take off those rose-colored Nikki Haley glasses, folks, he added. I don't believe that many people have rose-colored Nikki Haley glasses on. She might have changed her name. She might have dyed her hair. But we still see her for exactly who she is. Sorry, Haley, the Civil War was about slavery, period. Representative Dean Phillips, who is running for the Democratic nomination for president, tweeted, which we don't even know who this fool is, and he ain't going nowhere. Christina Pushaw, DeSantis' rapid response coordinator, mocked Haley's convoluted answer, describing it as word salad regarding the Civil War. Has she heard Ron DeSantis' word salad regarding the Civil War? Ron DeSantis said that Abraham Lincoln fought for equality for all Americans. I didn't know she got a nose job. She got a nose job? I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea. Pushaw also accused conservative media personalities of ignoring her response in an effort to not make her look stupid with her own words. I'm not trying to be funny, but her name makes her look stupid. DeSantis press secretary Brian Griffith characterized the moment as a giant mess of her own making. The Haley campaign did not immediately respond to the Post request for comment, probably because what did you expect them to say about slavery? You know what I'm saying? What do you expect them to say about slavery? You know what I'm saying?
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Oh, man. So, according to her, this took place as a result of some type of Democrat plan. You know what I'm saying? The only type of Democrat plant that was there was whatever she was smoking on before she started her damn speech. You know what I'm saying? That's the only kind of Democrat plant that was there. The one that she had in that special compartment in her purse inside of that little plastic baggie. That's the only Democrat plant that was there. Nikki Haley claims a Democrat plant asked questions that led to Civil War gaffes. So, again, if I sent a plant somewhere to disrupt what you were doing, and I had them ask you, well, by the way, before we close this out, what color is the sky? And you happen to say neon green. You're going to blame me for you answering neon green to that easy question? Really? Make it make sense. Now, New York Times usually when they do a different headline like this, they usually paste the same stuff, which that's what it looks like they did. So we're not going to read that. I just wanted to show y'all the headline because I made the claim earlier that she said that she was going that a Democrat plant had caused her to make this horrific mistake. You know what I'm saying? And there's the headline to back that citation. You know what I'm saying? So she actually tried to go back on what she said, and we're gonna see what she said when she went back on what she said. So we're gonna take a look at this clip real quick right here. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, also shout out to everybody that's in here. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have not smashed the like button, please take a moment. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, make sure that you guys watch the stream all the way through to the end. It'll take you right into the premiere window for the next stream.
Friends in the press pool who have been following me for months. And so they have been all a chatter today about something that happened.
Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Hurricane IQ for supporting the channel for 4 months. Make sure you guys show Hurricane some love. I definitely appreciate it, bro. Please throw some radiation emoji in the chat and some flames in the chat for Hurricane IQ. Definitely a very valued channel member.
At a town hall last night in Berlin. And so I want to go ahead and address that before I address you in the town hall. Last night I was asked about the Civil War and what I think of the Civil War, what was the cause of the Civil War. Of course, the Civil War was about slavery. We know that.
Why are you telling us? Why are you telling us this? This is the damage control part. Facts. Super facts. Now we know. Now, man, you know it was about slavery. You know it was about slavery.
What kind of shit is that?
You know, what's wrong with you? You ain't know the Civil War was about slavery? Man, where you been? What's wrong with you?
That's unquestioned, always the case. We know the Civil War was about slavery, but it was also more than that. It was.
Have you guys ever seen somebody try to give themselves a pep talk? Like, say, for instance, like you had a horrible day yesterday and you wake up today and you like, you know what, self, I'm going to have a great day today. I'm not going to do any of that stuff that I did yesterday. I'm starting out clean on a brand new slate. I'm going to wake up early in the morning. I'm going to set out a nice pair of clothes. I'm going to take a nice hot, long shower. I'm going to cook myself a wholesome breakfast. I'm going to do everything that I didn't do yesterday. She's literally giving herself that kind of pep talk. This is manipulation on top of manipulation. You're the one that didn't mention slavery. She's sitting up there telling the audience, duh. She's sitting up there telling the audience, duh. Y'all knew it was about slavery. My bad, y'all. Hey, shout out to Caldona. Caldona said her sweater sounds for Stan kind of iffy, and so does she. She definitely sounds kind of iffy. Shout out to my man Senpai. What's good with it, bro? She got to be trolling. Bro, I don't think she is. I don't think she is. You know what I'm saying?
It was about the freedoms of every individual. It was about the role of government.
See, so again, she's only saying this, of course. I want you to understand this, right? She says, duh, of course it was about slavery. Duh. And then instead of expanding on how it was about slavery, why it was about slavery, the institution of slavery, she goes on to reinforce back to what she was saying in the beginning. But see, what really had happened was the government infiltration and all that, you know. It was the government. It always comes back to the government. It always comes back to the government. It always comes back. We always go full circle with these things. It always comes back to the government.
Friends in the press pool who have been following me for months. And so they have been all a chatter today about something that happened at a town hall last night in Berlin. And so I want to go ahead and address that before I address you in the town hall. Last night I was asked about the Civil War and what I think of the Civil War, what was the cause of the Civil War. Of course, the Civil War was about slavery.
Shout out to Val. What's good with it, Val?
That's unquestioned, always
Shout
the
out to
case.
DSM.
We know
What's
the
good
Civil
with it,
War
bro?
was about slavery. But it was also more than that. It was about the freedoms of every individual. It was about
how every individual did have freedom except for black people. What are you talking about? There was literally nobody else's freedom that was in question. It wasn't about slavery. It was about the individual freedoms of everyone. Who else did not have individual freedoms? And this right here is how you know that the United States has not changed one bit. Out of all those white people that she's standing in front of, who stood up to correct her? None. Not a damn one. Nado. Nado. N-A-D-O. Not a damn one. But we're in post-racial America, per Vivek Ramaswamy, right? If we're in post-racial America and everybody is united as Americans, well then, as a fellow American, you should have no problem correcting incorrect history, regardless of whose history it's about, because we're Americans, right? But clearly, as demonstrated here, that's not the case. Somebody make it make sense. Hurricane IQ said, I'm gonna start using that. Yeah, nado, not a damn one.
The role of government. For 80 years, America had the decision and the moral question of whether slavery was a good thing and whether government, economically, culturally, any other reasons.
Bro, listen to me. Listen to me. Shout out to Two Factor. Two Factor said her acne must have been hellacious back in the day. The cam is panned out and the craters are crazy. Somebody told me that they used her face to do the CGI for the alleged faked moon landing. You know what I'm saying? I've also heard rumors that she uses a concrete mixing truck to apply her foundation. But again, these are all just rumors. None of this stuff is confirmed. I'll let you, if I get any confirmation, I'll definitely do a stream about it.
Had a role to play in that. By the grace of God, we did the right thing and slavery is no more. But the lessons of what that bigger issue with the Civil War are is that let's not forget what came out of that.
She babbling. She is babbling. I seen The Fly too. That's old school. That's hilarious. She is babbling. You know what I'm saying?
Which is government's role, individual liberties, freedom for every single person.
Let me ask you guys this. Who didn't have freedom at the time? Let's just all get a consensus on that. Whose freedoms were in question? There was literally only one group of people whose freedoms were in question. It is wild, man. It is wild how she can go to these extents and just make up insanity. But literally, they all do it, though. There will be more videos where we will show this. So make sure you got those bell notifications hit. Make sure you follow my backup channels. Make sure you subscribe to my Twitter and join the Discord. The link should be pinned in the chat. Because there will be more of this, especially with political season coming. These people are real, man. These people are going to be showing their ass so much, you're going to think that you was in Magic City.
Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do and be anything you want to be without anyone or government getting in your way. That should be the goal of what we always try and take away from that, right? Because we never want to return back to that place, but we always want to remember the lesson of what it means to be a free individual and that everyone deserves to be a free individual. So we stand by that. I say that.
So what brought about? Okay, so let's start here. What brought about the discussion of why everyone deserves to be a free individual? I'm asking you guys this question in the comment section. What brought that conversation about?
As a Southerner, I say that as a Southern governor who removed the Confederate flag off the State House grounds. And I say that as a proud American of how far we have come.
We haven't gone anywhere. And this is evidence that we haven't gone anywhere. And now where the direction that we've actually gone in is that we've gone in the direction of welcoming people who hold these kind of sentiments from outside of our country into our country to attempt to distort the small amounts of political influence that we have now. That's where we're at, quote unquote, in this country. You know what I'm saying? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Let's get it.
It's not slavery. We know that. That's unquestioned, always the case. We know the Civil War was not slavery. But it was also more than that. It was about the freedoms of every individual. It was about the role of government. For 80 years, America had the decision and the moral question of whether slavery was a good thing and whether government, economically, culturally, any other reasons, had a role to play in that.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in Washington, D.C. I'm Simone Sanders Townsend in.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Oh man, Simone Sanders.
What kind of shit is that?
Oh man, where'd they dig her up at? Where did they dig her up at? Hey, Simone Sanders, you remember this guy?
You ain't black.
Oh Lord. All right, let's get it.
For Nicole Wallace. Clean up on aisle 12. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley doing damage control today over an exchange she had at a town hall last night where she was asked a question that even grade school kids know the answer to. It's an answer that she knows.
Hold on real quick. We got to pull this back for two-factor. Let me see. Hold on.
She had at a town.
Yeah, we got to highlight them craters. Two-factor, where you at? That's looking pretty bad. That's looking pretty bad. Now I know why Ron DeSantis is mad at her. You know what I'm saying? Because she looked like, from that picture there, that she'd been using her face to block hurricanes for the last couple of years. And she decided to take her talents to South Carolina. Ron DeSantis probably like, we need you back down here. You know what I'm saying? We need you right on the port of Miami, blocking hurricanes with your face. And she said, nah, I'm about to run for president this year. I ain't got time for you, Ron. So Ron's like, ow. Okay, then.
Town hall last night where she was asked a question that even grade school kids know the answer to. It's an answer that she knows as well, but in typical fashion, you know, in an attempt by those in the Republican Party to whitewash American history, Nikki Haley chose instead to try and feed red meat to her base.
And what about the Democrats in your party that try to immigrant wash Black history? What do we call immigrant washing Black history? Rio, is it a Rio Grande rinse? Should we call it the Rio rinse? Or should we call it they're trying to undocument our history? What do we call the immigrant washing of Black history? Because you know that's happening. Oh man, it don't make no damn sense.
When asked what was the cause of the Civil War, Haley said a lot of words, but she left out a really important one: slavery. It sent a very clear signal showing us exactly who she is and the rest of the Republican Party are. Just take a look at the full exchange.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was? I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I wanted to see yours.
a good thing.
On the cause of the Civil War.
He said, I'm not running for president.
I mean, I think.
Hey, what's funny about this, right, is that they said that this was a Democrat plant, but I didn't hear him say, I'm not running for president. I actually think that this was a Ron DeSantis. Now, if this was a plant, I think that this was a Ron DeSantis plant. Now, I want to ask y'all, who do y'all think that is more likely that allegedly planted this person here? Ron DeSantis or the Democrats? Let me know what y'all think.
Run the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was? I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I wanted to see your opinion on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. Government doesn't need to tell you how to live your life. They don't need to tell you what you can and can't do. They don't need to be a part of your life. They need to make sure that you have freedom. You need to have capital.
Facts. Facts. Shout out to Torian. Torian said, plant or not, her card got pulled like loose baby teeth. Facts. If y'all agree with Torian, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Big facts. Big facts.
We need to have economic freedom. We need to make sure that we do all things so that individuals have the liberties so that they can have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do or be anything they want to be without government getting in the way.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answered that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
No, you answered my question. Thank you.
Next question.
Well, as you heard at the top.
Oh, man. Man.
Idiots! I'm surrounded by incompetent idiots!
That's crazy.
Nikki Haley eventually did acknowledge that slavery was the cause of the Civil War, not just government. And she did it over 12 hours later, mind you. She also blamed the questioner, suggesting the person was a Democratic plant. This is just a stunning state of affairs that we're all living through.
It was a crisis questioner. You know how everything that happens that makes them look bad is a crisis actor? You know what I'm saying? She's a crisis questioner. Oh, man.
Right now, folks, it is about to be 2024. A candidate running for the president of the United States of America, who used to be the governor of South Carolina, where the first shot in the Civil War was fired at Fort Sumter, does not want to admit the truth about America's history in the Civil War. Well, that is where we start this hour with Princeton University professor and distinguished political scholar Eddie Glaude, plus the host of the Fast Politics podcast and Vanity Fair special correspondent Molly John Fast. And back with me at the table is senior opinion columnist for the Boston Globe and co-host of the Sisters in Law podcast, Kimberly Atkins Storr.
Yeah, so you know what's interesting? You guys remember on Sesame Street when they said one of these things does not belong? Was that on Sesame Street? I can't remember what show that was on. One of these things does not belong. You know what I'm saying? This is the adult version right here. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to skip right past that. We're just going to skip right past that because one of those things did not belong. So let me see. Hold on. I think there was there was one more thing that I wanted to play here. And what they're saying is that Haley's war distortions shatter moderate campaign image. I completely disagree. Moderates, if you ask me, honestly, this right here probably would get her more moderate support, because what do we know about people who are quote unquote moderates? So the fact that she's willing to stand her ground and protect the United States image instead of tell the truth about history, to me, that actually signals to moderates, this is the person that we want. I don't think that this has destroyed her campaign with moderates at all. However, it doesn't matter what her campaign is looking like, because if you're a conservative, you really don't have a chance, because Trump is probably going to take that. You know what I'm saying? But let's see what they're talking about.
Republican presidential primary field is filled with so many extreme candidates that former South Carolina governor and former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, is seen as the moderate of the bunch. But yesterday, we got a reminder of what moderate means among the Republican presidential candidates these days.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do.
Actually, Governor, it was an incredibly easy question. Unfortunately for Haley, her response conspicuously lacked the only correct answer.
Oh, man, that was funny.
In the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answered that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
what do you want me to say about slavery? That is supposed.
She said, would you guys agree that all of this outrage, this is all fake outrage, and that it's actually mainstream America that's politicizing this for show, and actually none of these people are invested in caring about slavery? And what the actual situation is that Nikki Haley said the majority of America's quiet part out loud. See, because that's what I'm seeing from this. What I see from this is that Nikki Haley actually said the quiet part out loud. And now everybody's having their little Adam and Eve moment, feeling exposed like they butt-ass naked in the middle of Garden of Eden, and understand that they're doing wrong. And they don't like how they feel because they've got all the eyes on them and shit. If you ask me, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody really cares about this. I think that the news outlets and the social media people are using this in order to get traction, to get views, to get engagement. We are the only people that care about this. And honestly, when it comes to this, this is something that these people are not even willing to engage with on a political realm. So what it is that they're just trying to cover the embarrassment because they're more worried about the cosmetic appearance. They look bad. They look bad. I bet you Nikki Haley is feeling like she walked out the house and forgot to put her makeup on. You know, she probably looked like Skeletor before she put her makeup on. Y'all do realize this, right? She probably looked exactly like Skeletor. And then she get in front of that mirror, put a little bit of, eyeliner on and foundation, and then she come out looking like how she look right now. But when she go home and, start using that exfoliant, washing her face and doing the scrub, she look up in the mirror and be like, ah. She'd be like, ah. Oh, man. I'm going to rule Eternia one of these days. But first, I'll start by becoming the president of the United States. Ha!
Is moderate in the Republican primary right now? So weak. And today, after a wave of backlash for her comments, Haley attempted a cleanup tour. Here she was on a New Hampshire radio show this morning.
Yeah, she looked like the Crypt Keeper. Tonight's tale, kiddies, is about an antebellum mistress who forgot her history. Oh, man.
Of course, the Civil War was about slavery. We know that. That's the easy part of it. What I was saying was, what does it mean to us today? What it means to us today is about freedom. That's what that was all about. It was about individual freedom. It was about economic freedom. It was about individual rights.
Sure, the Civil War was about individual freedom, unless you were an enslaved Black person whose freedom was denied at birth. Sure, it was about economic freedom, unless you were an enslaved Black person whose nation-building labor was bred, violently coerced, and
it wasn't even even after slavery, we still did not have those rights. I want you guys to pay very close attention to how America is moving toward attempting to push the myth that immediately after slavery, we were somehow granted rights. That's not the case, and that's not true. That's a false narrative.
Uncompensated. Sure, it was about individual rights, unless you were enslaved in a nation where a chunk of the country seceded from the Union and went to war because it wanted to continue to deny you those very freedoms. And Nikki Haley should know all of that. Haley was the governor of South Carolina, the first state to secede in the Civil War, a state that made its reasoning incredibly clear.
So this is what I'm telling y'all. Nikki Haley is the governor of this state. Do you think that she really doesn't know the state's history? If y'all think that Nikki Haley does not know the state's history, give me a thumbs up. If y'all think that Nikki Haley does know the state's history, then give me a thumbs. Or if you guys think that Nikki Haley knows the state's history, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that she does not know the state's history, give me a thumbs down. She knows the state's history. This is just a tactic. This is literally a tactic that they do. And they do this all the time.
The opening sentence of South Carolina's 1860 proclamation seceding from the Union directly mentions slavery. And the proclamation goes on to cite, quote, increasing hostility on the part of non-slaveholding states to the institution of slavery as the state's explicit reason for leaving the Union. When Haley was asked about the cause of the Civil War back then, in 2010, she described it as a fight over, quote, tradition versus change.
I think it was tradition versus change.
So now this is what she said in 2010. So I want people to understand the constant and ongoing attack on our history that we have. And that's one of the reasons why I did that video. There's a live stream that I did, and it's titled Missouri Schools, Migrant Crisis plus Culture War equals Alternative Fact Manufacture. This coincides directly with that. Do you all see the alternative fact manufacturing that these people are doing? Vivek Ramaswamy and Nimrata Randhowa are manufacturing similar alternative facts when it comes to American history. And can we say that it's a cultural commonality? Because these are two individuals that came from the same culture that seem to have the same understanding of Black history, if what you call this is an actual understanding.
Tradition versus change.
I think it was tradition versus change is the way I see it.
Tradition versus change on what?
On individual rights and liberty of people.
Whose rights, Nikki Haley? Which people? What tradition? The tradition of slavery? That is the Republican Party's moderate primary candidate. Joining me now, Jamie Harrison, chair of the Democratic National Committee. Chairman Harrison, thank you very much for being here this evening. Like Nikki Haley, you are from South Carolina. Were you surprised by your former governor?
Hey, now here go my question. How many of y'all know who this dude right here is? Y'all know who this cat right here is? Have y'all ever seen him before? I've never seen this dude before. So we're going to listen to what he got to say. I don't know who this dude is, but let's see what he's talking about.
Governor's framing of the Civil War?
Not surprised at all, Jonathan. Any Black person in South Carolina always knew that this is who Nikki Haley is. And she has told us who she is time and time again. When she tried to justify celebrating Confederate History Month by equating it with celebrating Black History Month in South Carolina, she made the same.
See, then that's one of the reasons. See, I see y'all in the comment section. He one of them cats that can't be trusted. That's why I was asking, because the thing is, for the most part, it's very rare that any of these news agencies will ever put somebody on screen that is actually going to come with the knockout punches. I'm sitting here looking at this dude and I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of this dude. I've never really seen any of his commentary. I don't know what he's about. So we're going to definitely be, especially with political season coming up, we're going to definitely be identifying and putting a lot of these cats in the crosshairs.
Downright offensive whitewashing comments on the Civil War in the past. And again, as you said, arguing that it was tradition versus change.
Now, is he one of these people that'll sit here and say that the Civil War was actually fought about LGBTQ? The Civil War was actually fought about LGBTQ. Is he one of them cats? He the illest fool in Nebraska. Did you about it, fool? He, to me, looks like one of those people that would say that everything that happened as a result of LGBTQ rights. He also looks like one of those, they're attacking our voting rights people. Do y'all know that those people, everything is they're attacking our voting rights? He looks like one of them. I don't know if he is or not because I'm not familiar with him, but I'm gonna take y'all's word for it. Y'all say that he is. He looked like one of them. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so I'm glad that the rest of the country are taking their rose-colored lenses off as it relates to Nikki Haley, but there is nothing that is moderate about her. It is all about ambition. It's all about power, and she will take away individual freedoms and rights in order to get that power. But again, she epitomizes what MAGA extremism is in the Republican Party right now. When you think about it, Donald Trump is now parroting Hitler, talking about the poisoning of the.
Oh yeah, he definitely wanted. He definitely is one of them. He's definitely one of them.
Blood of the nation. You got Ron DeSantis, who just, and it's so interesting that he's beating Nikki Haley up on this comment, but he was the one who just said that slavery benefited the slaves. So again, these are the.
Now that is a true point, though. Ron DeSantis did say that. Ron DeSantis went so far as to change the Florida education curriculum to teach a class that says that slavery benefited black people. Ron DeSantis is running around Florida saying black people have black privilege because we got vocational education from slavery, and he's acting like he's offended by he's acting like he's offended by Nikki Haley not defining the Civil War based on slavery. Make it make sense. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If y'all haven't smashed that like button, take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment to hit the bell and share the stream to your social media. And also make sure that you are subscribed to the Discord by hitting the link that's in the comment section.
Front runners in the Republican Party right now, these MAGA extremists. All of these apples, Jonathan, are rotten. You can pick one of them, but they're all rotten. And this contest, this election is going to be about individuals, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who stand up to protect the freedoms of Americans, and individuals like Nikki Haley and Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, who are actively attacking.
No, what Joe Biden is actually protecting the freedoms of people who are not American. Joe Biden and the Democrats, make no mistake, the people whose rights and freedoms they're protecting are people that are not Americans. Let me ask you guys this question. How many of y'all watched that replay of Free 99 on Undocumented last night? If you guys watched that replay, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you guys did not, give me a thumbs down. Now, the reason why I asked that is because the stream titled Free 99, we talked about where the state of California has signed a legislation to provide Medi-Cal health care to all undocumented migrants. Shout out to Deformed Pretty Boy, because he was the one that hit me on to that. That's whose rights and freedoms are getting protected. If one of the moderators could drop the link for Undocumented in the chat so people could check out that stream and subscribe to the channel, that would be great. But make sure you guys check that out. We're going to be touching on that on the Undocumented Bros on this channel, but we did a stream where we thoroughly went over that last night, and it's wild. They're going to be giving full healthcare coverage, full state-sponsored benefits of healthcare, basically Medicaid, to undocumented migrants. How do you even do that if they don't have any documentation? You still got to pay copays. You still got to pay taxes. You still got to provide information, your ID, birth certificate. You got to have documents and money, and they don't have to have either. Somebody make that make sense. That's what Joe Biden and the Democrats are doing.
And destroying those freedoms.
Because you mentioned Ron DeSantis, you've given me the opportunity to switch gears. And I want to talk to you about something Nikki Haley said today at a town hall where she was specifically asked if she would pardon Donald Trump if she were president and he were convicted in one of his many criminal cases. Listen to this.
He asked if I would pardon Trump, and I've answered this before. I would pardon Trump. What's in the best interest of the country is not to have an 80-year-old man sitting in jail that continues to divide our country. What's in the best interest of the country would be to pardon him so that we can move.
That's the same logic that they used on why they didn't prosecute Carolyn Bryant. What good does it do to have an 80-year-old person in jail so that they can die alone as a punishment? And Nikki Haley knows Trump's not going to jail, so this is a facetious question. I appreciate you, JW.
In jail that continues to divide our country. What's in the best interest of the country would be to pardon him so that we can move on as a country and no longer talk about him.
Big facts.
Can we move on?
Big facts. Yo, drop some radiation emoji in the chat and throw some flames in the chat for Crew Royalty. Where were they when Cosby was locked up? It doesn't divide the nation to lock up and abuse an elderly black man. That doesn't divide the nation. We saw that when it came to Tulsa. Harming elderly black people does not divide the nation. As a matter of fact, the nation galvanizes itself and the nation actually energizes itself based on harming elderly black people, harming vulnerable black people. You know what I'm saying? It'll only divide the nation if you do something like that to a quote unquote heritage American, which is what the Heritage Foundation is for.
Trump were pardoned, with the exception of Chris Christie. Is the entire goal of the primary field to not alienate Trump's base, which is really the base of the GOP?
Pretty much. You know, it's so amazing, Jonathan, that the rule of law is important to the Republicans when it applies to everybody else other than themselves. You know, they're always seeking the rule of law for some
facts. Exactly, Torian. They didn't lock up Carolyn Bryant for the exact same reasons why she's saying that they wouldn't lock up Trump. Oh, because that would be divisive. And oh, what would an 80-year-old person do? It don't matter. Lock them up. If they committed a crime, lock them up. They don't have no problems indiscriminately locking those of us up that didn't commit crimes.
Somebody else. They're seeking rule of law for dictators in other countries. But anytime that it applies to them and the misgivings and the things that they are doing, you know, we need to give them a pass. But again, this is just epitomizes the extremism in this country that we see with MAGA Republicans. This election will boil down to very clear contrast. It's hope versus fear. It's progress versus.
It's not just the MAGA Republicans. It's literally most Americans and people of color. Nikki Haley is a person of color. She's a product of Democrat politics. She's a product of the Rainbow Coalition. She's a WS diversity hire. She is the direct product of Democrats.
Chaos is the future versus the past. And so that's what people have to make a decision on, where they want to go. Do they believe that America's best days are anchored in a bygone past, or do they believe that our best days are in the future? Joe Biden got into this race because he knew that we were in a battle for the soul of this nation. He has a sense of moral clarity. These people don't have.
Joe Biden doesn't have any sense at all. Joe Biden is devoid of sense. How dare you sit up there and try to get us to believe that this man,
you ain't black,
has sense? Joe Biden got less sense than a stack of $100 bills. The hell out of here, man. Ladies and gentlemen, players and pimps, I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I want to shout out the new members. Welcome back to James Sumler. Shout out to Ty Valentine for becoming a member. Definitely appreciate it. Also, shout out to valued member Hurricane IQ with the 4 months of membership support. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Don't move a muscle. Stay in the stream. It'll take you into the next scheduled stream. Hit that bell over there. Smash that like button. And I will see you all over there. All right. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,
walk up in the life. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this bitch like, hey. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey. I'm really him. Don't believe me? Come and see me. Got 3 wishes from my genie. Now I'm on your local TV. Y'all on tour. Got demons. Say she wanna come and see me when I'm in a local city. I'm like, pause though. Please step aside so they can see me. And I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. On God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. I'm the realest from my city. That's on Molly, that's on Tiwi, that's on mamas. Niggas don't believe me, come and see me. I been dodging all that fake. All these niggas working broke, but I been getting paid. All that know me from the street. Flexing for what feature, that's like every other week. Talk behind my back, I kick my feet up, have a seat. Cause at the end of the day, all these watching me as I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him, on God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him, on God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey.